Welcome to Plimsolls to Platforms, Episode 9. Join us as we profile Calvin Klein. Discover how the internet has changed the face of fashion. Remember the swinging 60s. And find out what makes the Beatles style so memorable. He's known as the supreme master of minimalism, a designer who envelops men and women in chic, wearable clothes of exceptional cut. Calvin Klein first came to public attention when his designs featured on the cover of Vogue magazine in 1969. New York born and bred, Klein won praise for his sleek, timeless creations. His commitment to ready-to-wear resort clothes made the business extremely profitable, and initials CK came to represent affordable luxury.
I think there's, maybe 4 or 5 names you think of when you think of fashion, and especially New York fashion, and, obviously Calvin is always one of those.
Klein was the first designer to win the Council of Fashion Designer of the Year award for outstanding design in both men and women's wear. His distinctive, beautiful fabrics and flowing lines have won him many fans in Hollywood. Celebrities who love Calvin Klein designs include Sandra Bullock, Julia Roberts, and Sex and the City's Cynthia Nixon.
Elegant, just completely elegant. You always know it's Calvin Klein, but there's such a variety of looks and just very, I just always feel very elegant in his clothes.
In the 1970s, Klein launched a range of designer jeans that took America by storm. His 1980 advertising campaign featured a provocative 15-year-old Brooke Shields whispering that nothing came between her and her Calvin Klein jeans. The campaign ignited a publicity frenzy that made Klein a household name. Even today, Shields still loves her Calvins.
I think that when you think about New York and you think about sort of national treasures, even though you think of the High Line, but you also think of Calvin. I mean, really, it's a perfect combination of the two. I always enjoy wearing his clothes because they feel like simple, but with an edge. They're always modern, and you never feel like the clothes are overwhelming you.
With the jeans business proving lucrative, the Calvin Klein Emporium branched out into boxer shorts for women and a particularly distinctive men's underwear collection. The advertising featured celebrities like Marky Mark Wahlberg, who dominated the New York skyline on giant billboards that proved so iconic, Klein's underwear became simply known as Calvin's. Klein also continued to design his beautiful range of women's clothing, which became 1980s classics.
He does simple elegance so beautifully, and I think it's the type of clothes that you just have to throw your shoulders back and feel very elegant and beautiful in.
I mean, literally watching the show, I just felt myself like sitting back more and wanting to have better posture. There's something about it that just seems very striking and, adult, which I really like.
The company faced bankruptcy during the early 90s recession, but a range of fragrances with names such as Obsession and Eternity helped Calvin Klein turn its fortunes around.
I like how simple Calvin's clothes are. They just feel really but they're also got a very sophisticated twist to them.
Klein has since retired from the design world, with Brazilian Francisco Costa taking up his mantle as the company's senior designer. He has kept the emphasis on classic elegance.
We've been living in an era of a lot of, easy clothes, fluffy and decorated. I think you just want to be a little more tucked in, more controlled. You just have beautiful coats. It's almost showing off what you have best, and coats that will last also forever. I think that's the essence. Having one of sportswear pieces, great coats, great skirts, great jackets, that one could, have it for a long time and always feel good in it.
Looks like Klein's fashion label will last for an eternity. Fashion bloggers like Scott Schumann, the sartorialist, are changing the face of fashion by celebrating the stylishness of everyday people on the street.
You could think that fashion was speeding up. It speeds up if you let it speed up, you know, if you let that affect you. But most of the people I've shot, you know, I've shot over a 3-year period, and I think most people would still look at almost all of those shots and go, wow, that looks really cool. So we let fashion seem fast if we allow ourselves to feel that way.
Bloggers and fashion columnists can instantly spread the word about catwalk trends, or conversely, signal a new street style that might then find its way onto the catwalk.
I guess it's like, you know,
shopping
fashion
online.
theatre, or, you know, people will still like that live experience of, you know, the energy of being in the room with the music and the girls. And, yeah, but I think it's also exciting that you know, with what's happening on the internet, that you can access things so quickly, and even trends I think are moving at a faster rate because there's so much dialogue on the, you know, internet and back and forth and information that's going.
The internet has been a boon for fashionistas worldwide, according to Vogue online editor Dolly Jones.
It is changing. I mean, apart from anything else, it's making it so much more accessible. So many more people are interested in what's going on because I think they can get in. They can have access to fashion shows both visually and tweeting much more than ever before.
Jones says the catwalk collections have a theatricality that engages readers of her website and inspires them to create their own look from new trends.
It's really exciting. I think people want to celebrate it, and the catwalk gives it that focus for celebration, because if I just sent you a load of pictures of clothes, it's not nearly as exciting.
Jones uses her smartphone to take photos of runway collections and tweet comments to her thousands of followers before the show has even finished. In this way, fashion lovers feel closer to the fashion world than they ever have before. And when they find something they like, they want it immediately.
My way to work now is really to visualize how my clothes have to arrive to the customer. And for me, the best luxury they should arrive straight away. At the same time, then the information is there. It's a new way of thinking. I think it's part of the price of luxury. Is now. You want it now.
Far from becoming less relevant in these days of instant technology, Schumann sees fashion shows as an essential marketing tool for designers. He believes they should become spectacles in their own right and throw their doors open to a paying public as well as fashion insiders.
For the first time, I think fashion shows, instead of becoming a necessary expense, I think they'll start to become a profit center for a lot of designers, because they'll live stream, they'll see what a big audience they have, everyday people. They won't sidestep the media, but I'm sure there'll be a ring around the stage that's media and a bigger ring around the outside of people who are paying to go see these shows. I mean, I asked people on my blog, would you pay to go see a fashion show? And a lot of them said yes.
It's a sentiment shared by designer Mark Fast.
It's a great way to, you know, reach so many more people. I think it's great because, I mean, everyone has an opinion. You know, sometimes you don't really care, but it's nice to see, you know, what other people are thinking that don't have a voice, let's say through newspapers or whatever, so why not?
Although maybe there are some fashion statements that would be a little difficult to replicate.
I think it's really exceptional that it's so fast now, and it's really exciting. It's you know, it's innovative and it's really quick, so I think that's great.
Marketing fashion on the internet means boutique fashion labels can focus on their strengths and target their audience directly.
I think if you can do it and you build the weights that are right, or you focus on a market, you know, the US still right now is very warm for the most part. And so if you decide the US is my market and I'm going to go for that kind of thing, then that's what you can do. It gets more difficult when you're big and global.
So for your next fix of street or runway fashion, head to the web and find out where fashion is headed tomorrow. The style of French-born sex kitten Brigitte Bardot has left an indelible imprint on the fashion world. Beautiful Bardot was working as a fashion model when director Roger Vadim saw her on the cover of a 1950 edition of Elle magazine. He married her 2 years later, then cast her in the 1956 film And God Created Woman, in which she caused a sensation. Aged just 22, Bardot spent much of the film padding around barefoot and wearing very little, while tantalising the men in her life. The film was panned as an exploitative potboiler, but it launched Bardot as a major sex symbol and was popular with audiences. Bardot's flowing golden tresses and pouting lips soon became emblematic of French womanhood. She threw off the restrictions of corseted gowns and proper hats, favouring more casual attire, such as short skirts, tousled locks, headbands, and scarves and ballet flats. The bikini was one of her signature looks, and it was used to much effect in many of her films, including the aptly titled Girl in a Bikini. For those shocked by the amount of skin on show in a two-piece, worse was to come when Bardot discovered the topless maillot and was photographed sunbathing in just bikini bottoms at the Byblos Hotel in Saint-Tropez. Although she was best known for wearing few clothes, throughout the 60s, Bardot continued to hone her eclectic and individual style. She loved the beatnik look and was often spotted in skinny jeans, leather boots, and a fisherman's sweater. Bardot's disdain for established fashion protocols extended to her political beliefs. When she retired from the movie business, Bardot put all her energies into animal rights activism, becoming a vegetarian and founding the Brigitte Bardot Foundation for the Welfare and Protection of Animals in 1986. She auctioned off many of the clothes and jewellery she'd accumulated over the years to raise the 3 million francs needed to fund the foundation. Although she's been out of the public eye for much of her retirement, Bardot continues to influence the fashion world through her iconic films and the many paparazzi photographs that documented her crazy life. If you were an English teenager in the summer of 1964, chances are you were either a mod or a rocker. Rockers swaggered around on high-powered motorcycles wearing tough leather jackets, Levi jeans, or tight leather pants and slicked-back hair. The look was tough, masculine, and intimidating. The mods puttered around on Vespers, dressed in immaculate suits with thin ties and V-neck jumpers. Their beautifully cut hair flopped freely in the breeze, in imitation of actors like Frenchman Jean-Paul Belmondo. For the first time in fashion, teen style had a life of its own, and it went on to have a big impact in the wider world. Swinging 60s fashion owed a big debt to mod culture. It was influenced by the dandyism of the feared British teddy boys of the 1950s, small-time crims who favoured Edwardian clothes styles. Mods pared down the look to snappy suits and sharp colours, with women replacing the suit with streamlined minis that showed plenty of leg. Their biggest influence was fashion model and designer Twiggy, whose tiny frame and twig-like arms and legs caused a sensation. Soon, Twiggy's gammon face was on every magazine cover of the mid-60s, and she was even given her own publication, her Mod Teen World. Twiggy was a Londoner born and bred, as her broad Cockney accent attested. and London was the centre of mod fashion. Shoppers scoured the swinging boutiques of Carnaby Street and King Road to find clothes made by designers like Mary Quant. The miniskirt was picked up by couture designers and entered mainstream fashion. It became acceptable to flash some leg, even on formal occasions. The bold geometric patterns and strong graphics that featured in pop art found their way onto dress fabrics. Designers experimented with futuristic styles, influenced by pop culture hits such as the sexy space adventure Barbarella. But even dressed in the most outlandish frocks, British models of the era always looked proper. Maybe it was the gloves. Designers experimented with a range of materials and fabrics, from metal to plastic and wire. Dress lengths varied from 6 inches above the knee to knee length to the popular ankle-length maxi dress. Shimmering fabrics caught the eye, often worn by the liberated Dolly Bird, a young, confident woman in 1960s London who had her own job and a disposable income. These women loved the individuality and freshness of mod fashion and eagerly sought out the latest trends. As well as Twiggy, Dolly Bird role models included lovely actress Jane Asher and model and musician's muse Pattie Boyd. The look could be flirty and fun or bold and arresting. The swinging 60s set the scene for a revolution in fashion. New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art recently held an exhibition that traced the evolution of fashion and beauty. Displays included a reinterpretation of fashion photographer Richard Avedon's iconic image Dovima with elephants. The original featured a model in a Dior evening gown posing with circus elephants. Not all fashion involves soft body-hugging fabrics. The Met's extensive fashion collection includes some designs with a much harder edge, striking but not so wearable. Far more suitable for the dance floor are these disco dresses, perfect for reflecting the mirror balls of 1970s nightclubs. The exhibition highlighted the influential Brooke Shields for Calvin Klein jeans ads that shot the designer to fame in 1980. Above all, the Met showed how fashion constantly reinvents itself from the same places, seamlessly weaving together old and new. And clothes can tell us a lot about the woman who's wearing them.
What I think would be great, I'm particularly thinking that women will come away with awareness of how, as a culture, we've come to recognize all forms of beauty. We're living in an era where there are 14-year-olds running up and down the runway, and Carmen at 77 walking the same runway. We have plus-size models, we have the skinny model, we've got everything in between, we've got every race, every blend, every exotic type. That's great. We've come a long way, and I think it's awesome to celebrate all of these women's contribution to what fashion is, because it's more than a dress, it's the woman in it as well.
And it's these women and these dresses that the Met celebrates. With their mop-top hairstyles and Savile Row suits, there was no question which side of the mod rocker divide the Beatles came down on. Although their non-standard issue hairstyling caused some concern among teenagers' parents, others were just happy that the Fab Four appeared to be generally clean-cut. Well, opposed to groups like the bad boy Rolling Stones, anyway. John, Paul, George and Ringo burst onto the music scene in the early 60s. with a sophisticated mod look of dark suits, drainpipe trousers and skinny ties. Their shoes, or Chelsea boots, were tight, Cuban-heeled and ankle-length, made by London company Anello and David. The boots became so popular that even Bob Dylan bought a pair. But it was their hair that attracted the most attention. Paul and John copied the original style from a German friend, and it became so popular among fans that a toy manufacturer began producing Beatle wigs. Asked by an American reporter what he called the hairstyle, George Harrison cheekily answered, "Arthur." But just as their music evolved over the years, so did their fashion sense. Their sombre Edwardian-style suits gave way to bright psychedelic clothing when the band became entranced by Eastern mysticism. On the colourful cover of 1967's Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, all 4 band members had moustaches, and from that time they started wearing their hair longer and sometimes sported a beard. John Lennon took to wearing round, gold-rimmed spectacles and the occasional all-white suit. The military jackets worn by the Fab Four on the cover of Sgt. Pepper were later referenced by Michael Jackson more than 10 years later. After spending time in India, the Beatles came home with flowing collarless shirts and sandals, which they matched with paisley or floral trousers. Their fashion journey was a journey through the 60s, from teenage rebellion to sexual liberation and free love, to self-enlightenment and political activism. Despite their breakup in 1970 and the subsequent deaths of John Lennon and George Harrison, the Beatles are still the most influential musical group ever formed. Their music, clothes, and hair continue to be endlessly fascinating to their many fans. Clothes and paraphernalia associated with the band fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars from collectors. And there's no sign that the hysteria that's lingered since the 4 embarked on their remarkable musical careers will ever end.